Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this week's edition of the podcast. Now, we've had a particular standout name suggestion this week, which I think, does someone want to read it verbatim?
It doesn't explicitly say that it's a name suggestion for the podcast. The comment is in total. Oh, no, it's got a question mark at the end, so potentially it is a name suggestion. 3 total nerds and 2 absolute hotties. And I do just want to say that this is actually getting a bit upsetting at this point. Tharies and Artie are just as nerdy as the rest of us, and we do not.
Come on, yeah, but you guys, the nerdiness is up front for us.
I am flattered, I truly
right
am.
there.
But, I appreciate it, I really do.
Yeah, can we please stop objectifying Artie and Tharies? It's not ideal.
You know, they want you to stop objectifying me, but I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
There's actually some really good suggestions this week, and yes, I do read all of the comments, and I do like it when you say hi to me in the comments, because there are a couple of them that did say hi to me.
Oh, that's nice.
But no, yeah, we'll come on to discussing all of those comments. We've got a bunch of theories as well. Rosanna's got a particularly interesting theory. I say that, it might be really boring.
It might be bad.
Not mean.
It might be, Dan is Donna level of...
Dan is Donna was the best theory anyone ever came up with. I'll have you know.
My theory is amazing. Well, it's not even my theory. I found it on TikTok and I was like...
So Rosanna's pirated theory may be really good, so stay tuned for that.
Thank you very much.
We fully support plagiarism on the Confused Adipose YouTube channel.
That's very ironic coming from the man that uploads documentary.
Let's start the review.
No, I think we should tell the audience. If you want to go and look at Tharies
for context for that joke, this week our group chat where we organise the podcast is full of Joe and Tharies arguing about stealing each other's thumbnails and concepts for videos.
Every time I'm being stolen from, I'll put that out there.
I want to say I suggested that regeneration thumbnail. You used it, and then I used it the following day.
Yeah. You cannot reject my reality, Thomas Harris.
No, I do reject your reality.
I think you both just thought of good thumbnails at the same time. It was a lucky day.
Also,
So at the end of the podcast, it'll end in a boxing match. It's a live action boxing match.
Down below if you want the boxing match. We will do
which team do you support? Confused Adipose or Tharies? And why is it me? That's the
to be fair, we're on your YouTube channel, so it's going to be, rigged.
I think you should support me and Elise's hypothetical podcast.
Our own podcast. It's called the Hi Martha.
Hi.
Unlike Doctor Who, this podcast is doing well enough to commission a spin-off. So
Way.
we're doing very well.
Earlier this week, someone walked into where I work and went, "Hi, Arthur," and I couldn't. You've drilled that into my head. Hi, Arthur. Hi.
But all of this aside, we're also going to be reading out your comments, your theories later on in the video, so stay tuned for that. But first, who wants to start? Someone give us your thoughts on episode 4, Lucky Day.
I had just finished rewatching it about 20 minutes ago. I enjoyed it because it was one of those episodes. I mean, we were talking about it a little bit yesterday, and it was what Osh was saying about it's a breakfast episode that you could sit down and eat your breakfast while you're watching it.
You can watch your breakfast while eating the episode.
Amazingly, wow, oh my God, episode. But I had a really good time with it, and it's nice to just be able to turn Doctor Who on, have a good time, and I kind of feel like I'm now expecting a good time out of Doctor Who again, because it's just been banger after banger recently, which has almost got me a little bit worried because the expectations are slowly rising. When I watched Robot Revolution, I was a bit critical, but I was like, it was a good episode considering, but now I'm like, I don't want to swear this early in the video, but, get rid of Robot Revolution. I'm enjoying these episodes. I've got lots of, little bits to say, I'm sure, when we all get into those. But overall, I had a really good time with that.
Fair. I mean, we'll now come to Artie, because I feel like, Artie, you might have the most controversial or negative opinion out of all of us from the brief thing I've heard.
Whoa!
That's a Crash Bandicoot.
What do you mean? I didn't.
Good point.
I didn't like this one. Okay, I just didn't. I didn't think it was good. I thought the villain was rubbish.
Which one? There's two.
Well, okay, Conrad, was that his name?
Yeah.
For me, this. You know, it was. Rosanna, what did you think? You know, let's get a nerd's opinion.
Artie, we'll come back to you, Artie.
I really enjoyed it. It gave me very much like Love a Monster if it was done right. You know, when especially the start scene of him saying sort of Shooty and Belinda, and then you see him. Also, because I watched The Confidential, I was like, when I watched the episode, I was like, hang on a minute, what is with all these mannequins? Why is it given Rose? They're not a Rose. Overall, really enjoyed it. Although the twist was spoiled by TikTok. Thank you very much. But yeah, I was like, oh, I really like this guy.
Yeah, I did think Conrad was quite good. Tharis, what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think I'm in a similar boat. I mean, like, I wasn't expecting to, like, think this one was that great. I was kind of worried that this one would be the one that stalled the momentum for me after, like, liking it, you know, week over week, because, you know, it's a Dr. Light and it's, you know, like, Ruby Sunday-centric, and obviously the writer, Pete McTeague, obviously love his work on, like, some of the collection box sets that he's done, but wasn't huge on either of his previous two episodes. But I really, really liked this one a lot. It, like, shocked me. It surprised me. I thought the villain was really good. I thought Conrad was, like, just a really unique and interesting take on a villain. Genuinely, I love that Artie is giving me the most savage glare of all time as I say this. Yeah,
I was hoping you would be my ally in this conversation.
No, I'm afraid
I'm
afraid I'm not. I genuinely had a really great time with this one, a lot more so than I was expecting to. Like, I think the MVP for me in this episode is Kate Stewart, though.
That's the best performance.
For sure.
All round, really well acted episode, though.
Yes.
Not let down at all. Like, every single person, I was like, oh, stop laughing, Arthur.
I just was really hoping I wouldn't be the only one, because now I am. But no,
we'll launch the debate, because Artie, I feel like I'm on the exact opposite end of this to you, because I feel like this is one of those rare times where 95% of it is Doctor Who doing politics right. Like, I think it wasn't too on the nose. It didn't feel too silly. It was very clever. It can be read in so many different ways. Like, Conrad as a villain can apply to like like Nigel Farage types, but you can also literally apply perfectly to like the negative right-wing reactionaries on YouTube, and like there's so many facets of it that you can read. There are also, I want to debate later, is it too in favour of the government? Is it saying don't protest, the government is good? Because there's been a lot of talk about that online, which I think is interesting, because I initially read that and was like, ooh. But then also, I kind of get where people are coming from, but we'll save that for later. Artie, come on, give us your full dislike. Why? What did this episode do to you?
I mean, this episode isn't The Timeless Child. It's not something I'm going to remember hating. I just didn't enjoy it. And to be honest about the acting, I think I've decided I don't like Millie Gibson as an actress. I think she's a wonderful personality, you know. She's great on the interview. She's great for Doctor Who. But I didn't really get her in season 1, and I kind of put that down to she wasn't given much to do. But she's come back. She was given loads to do in this episode, and I just don't find her convincing. I do think, although I think the political side of it, I don't really give much of a toss. I do think it's a bit... No, I do think it's a bit cringy, quite how lovely UNIT are. Because they are just lovely. And they're the military. And it's like, I don't really give a toss. Oh, what?
They almost left him to die.
Well, yes and no.
Deserved it!
Yes and no, though. Like that kind of came out of nowhere because she was like cuddly Kate all the way through the episode, and then she was just
but
at
then,
the end
then
like.
the guy doxed her employees and held them at
And nearly
gunpoint.
killed another employee.
And slagged off her father.
Yeah, which
But is that not quite out of character for Kate? I feel
No.
like morally on an interpersonal
No, Kate's
level,
always
Kate is
been-
usually quite level-headed. But when she takes it too far, it's usually a strategic reason why. It's rarely vindictive. Conrad, sorry, you said start the debate, and I've just been
He didn't
ranting.
Elise
die
So
said
though,
tell
in
me,
the end.
tell
He
me,
didn't
tell me
die.
why
She
I'm
knew
wrong.
what she was doing because he didn't die. If he died, then yeah, that's her fault.
Normally takes me a good 40 minutes to go insane in some of these videos, but this one's I'm gone already. But no, I mean, first of all, I really liked the fact that they were, but them being lovely, it kind of to me felt like they were having to go above and beyond being perfect because they were under such scrutiny, which I think with what Joe was saying about is it saying you shouldn't protest the government? I mean, they did have a little line in there that I think kind of balances that out, where they're like, oh, well, the politicians will do whatever the politicians want to do. They'll swing whichever the vote is, whatever the line was, which I think covered that quite well. But the fact that they had to be, like, any tiny thing that they were scrutinised for, they had to be perfect. They had to be that. So when Kate is like, no, I'll show you, they're all like, Kate, we're being recorded. Like, we can't, no, we need to be doing this. And she's gone, you know what, I don't care. And I love it when a companion crashes out. I love it. I love it because it's like the Doctor is not there all of the time to save everything. It gave me a bit kind of Torchwood vibes where it's like...
yes, I agree.
I was thinking it gave Harriet Jones.
Yes.
I just watched the Christmas episode 2 weeks ago, and that part where she's like, well, you're not here all the time. I saw people die. Give me that time.
Well, I think Kate's character, coming back to what Artie was saying, I completely disagree with that, she's level-headed, blah, 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 blah. Well, yeah, that's because 90% of the time she stands there and goes, I'm the Brigadier's daughter, and doesn't do anything. This episode was banging because this was the first time since The Power of Three where I've really got the impression that Kate is fully her own character.
I agree.
Like, she's fully... And as well, I think she, like, not to sound like, classic Who, but she's the Brigadier's daughter in this instance. Like, that's so... The Brigadier was an interesting character to have in Classic Who because him and the Doctor got on really well, but often he'd do things which fundamentally go against what the Doctor wants. Fundamentally, he's fighting to save humans, but he'll kill an alien to get there. And I think it's interesting, like, Conrad has the same line as the Brigadier does, where he has the gun and he's like, get off my planet. And they've kind of flipped that back. And I think it's a very interesting exploration of, if you pushed Kate that far, where would she go? And I think it's only the beginning. Well, we know it's only the beginning. They've said in the interviews this is going to be Kate's Kate's arc. We're going to see
I will
where she
say,
goes.
after seeing this, I'm much more optimistic for that spin-off than I was going in, because I was really worried before this. Unit's a bit boring, and Kate's a little... Kind of what you were saying is that Kate hasn't worked for me for a lot of the run because it is kind of just... The Brigadier was my dad, by the way. I don't know whether you know. Whereas with this episode, I fully bought into who she is. She's a very prideful person who's jaded after years on the job, who, if pushed to her limits, will do what is necessary. And I think that's the first time it's really connected with me. Also, let's be honest, on Kate being too violent, let's be honest, her dad would have shot Conrad point blank. He wouldn't have even given it a second thought. He'd be like, five rounds rapid, gone in a second.
Speaking of Kate, can I just say... I literally screamed when Millie was like, why are you in the unit headquarters by yourself? She was like, oh, nothing. I was like, get it. Like, I support that. Finally, do you know what I mean?
It's so, like, it's just little things like that that really flesh out the universe, and that's what I really think this episode has done so well, is it makes me, obviously when you have a Doctor-like episode, you see stuff that's going on when the Doctor's not there, but this really felt like, the world is still moving when the Doctor's off doing his, other stuff. It's not just sat there waiting. Unit aren't paused, ready in their seats, ready for something to happen. Even the fact that she was working late, it wasn't like Ruby's call.
I wasn't working late.
She's just sat there and she's like, yeah, I'm working by myself, gets a little coffee from him, gives him a little glance. And then he, even if she went too far, she didn't go too far, he still, like, checks on her at the end and tries to make that move, and she's like, absolutely not. No, I did what was necessary, and I love that. I also love the fact that she allowed that complete floor of unit to be completely decimated to prove a point. Like, that is after my own heart. I love a petty girl. I love her.
I've got two other things to say on unit as well, right? I thought Shirley Ann Bingham was actually really good because I thought
my God,
she was all right in the Star Beast and the giggle. It was just like, but I think it's my favourite line of the episode. I don't know why. It was just such a sweet moment where she says to Ruby, like, "You've already got 2 mums. Are you trying to?" Like, I thought that was just such a nice moment.
I also love the line from her.
I did like that.
Yeah, the line from her. Yeah, before then, after that, actually, was the bit where they're holding him at gunpoint, and Kate goes, "Do you want to know what I wrote on your application?" And she goes, "Maybe throw in a compliment in there, just a thought." Like, that's really good.
And, like, the hottie thing, sorry, Liz, when she was like, tears
Hot
out.
taser lady, yeah.
Like, they're on about me.
Yeah.
But then we have the flip side to this. I'm still struggling for the life of me to... What is the point of the Vlinks? He literally disappears into the floor.
See, I'm here for the Vlinks because of how funny the shot was, and where it was like, evacuate.
I posted a meme after watching the episode. It was I posted like the Vlinks anytime it has to do something, and it's just SpongeBob going, "I am a head out." And he's like, because literally he's like sat there going, "Do. Oh yeah, I'm gonna make sure everything's going all right." The second the monster comes along, I evacuate.
It's just pointless. He's got laser eyes though. Why would you not stay there and use your laser eyes against the villain? Why are you going into the floor?
Then they'd be like, unit
got to evacuate.
Yeah, but then Kate was bloodlusted. She wanted blood. She was like, no, don't use.
I think Kate did the best job she could, and she fucking slayed, because he was such a little prick. Like, he deserved us. I was like, oh, I wish his arm got chopped off, or I wish he got like something. Then his arm went. I was like, yeah.
But I really liked at the end as well. Like, I know we already touched on it, but I think the exact line, like, Colonel Ibrahim says to her, like, "Don't worry, Conrad's still alive," and she's like, "Thank God," because like she still is fighting to save people, and she knows she went too far, but she's too stubborn to admit it. And like everyone there just feels they're such good characters. And also, while I remember we were talking about War Between the Land and the Sea, did anyone else spot they set that up? Mel going to Sydney Harbour, something suspicious.
That's what it was. I knew there was going to be something with it. I didn't realise it was that. I was thinking, have we got an episode set in Sydney this season?
It's tying into what Mel was doing over there. Also, I want to say because Joe, you brought up earlier the idea of like, should we trust the government or not? I read it a lot more as like how like those right-wing populist figures kind of co-opt the idea of being anti-establishment for their own purposes, when they're not actually anti-establishment. They just want to, sort of harness those feelings for their own gain. Because, all like right-wing politicians are like, oh, the establishment has let you all down, it's failed. But what they actually want is to replace the establishment or burn it down.
Conrad is just like a young, sexy Nigel Farage. Like that's basically what he is in this episode.
Like, he was
so just a young Nigel Farage.
Deary me.
He kept going on about they're taking on what they're doing with our taxes. Then it got mentioned he was a tax dodger as well, and I was like,
yes,
yeah, I like that.
Yes, that's really good. Like, it's the hypocrisy of him is really like noticeable, I think, as well. With that, obviously, when he's with Ruby, he's kind of playing the whole Doctor fanboy angle of it. He's like, oh, we're a team, like you and the Doctor. I still think there's still a part of that in him. I don't think that's fully a performance. He feels like he wants to be like the Doctor. There's an element of like insecurity there. Like, I want to be like this guy, but I'm never going to be that.
I thought as well, there was a really interesting reading of it that I don't know how intentional it was, but I thought because obviously within the Doctor Who fandom, naming no names, but there's a lot of people who've ended up going quite right wing, and I thought it's interesting.
Bowles Trek.
Well, no. I'm not talking about people that have always, because they're just the grifters. I thought it'd be interesting.
Wait,
Imagine
Tharis, message me a name. I'll take the flack. I'll name you.
Imagine a kid who is sat there, who loved Doctor Who as a child, like Conrad, then grows up and goes down this right-wing rabbit hole. It made me think, like, if they sit there and watch this episode, like a kid who, because Conrad starts by sort of idolising the Doctor, like it's his lucky day, would that help change any perspective? So I don't know how much influence TV has, but I think would it make you sit there and question it? Because
no, I don't think that it.
Just say it, man. If it's cancelable, we'll cut it.
I just. Hang on. It's
like working with William Hartnell. It really is.
Just Chesterfield.
If you hadn't lent her my shoes, my boy, you could have lent her hers.
I'm just struggling to get it out because I don't want to. I didn't enjoy this episode, but I didn't hate it, and so I don't just want to sit here and say everything crap about it for the sake of disagreeing with you. But I don't think that politically this message is going to reach anyone that you would want to hear it. And I don't think it's subtle or nuanced enough to be good for anyone that already knows the things that it's trying to convey. I don't think that some of these right-wing viewers would watch Doctor Who and see Conrad in themselves because it was sort of apolitical in the sense of right and left. Yes, he was a loud, obnoxious influencer, but on the right they view like left-wing influencers as loud and obnoxious, and although it was clearly bent in a characteristic way, they're not going to see their own views in that, so they'll just see it as this villain, or they'll get defensive and go, well, this is outrageous, I can't believe you're just portraying my kind of people like this. I don't think it was clever enough for me to appreciate it as someone who even agrees with the message. Like, I think I was talking to my brother about it earlier, and I think my biggest issue with Conrad is his heel turn on Unit is one thing that could be really interesting. But I think combining that with a heel turn on Ruby, I think it makes him way too simple. It makes him like Hans from Frozen, where like the whole time you get no indication. They even cut away to when Hans isn't seen by anyone and he's giving a cute little smirk from the boat. And then he's just, I know he wants the throne, but he didn't have to be that mean to Anna. Anna is lovely. And it's like, Conrad, I know he wants to take down Unit, but I think he would have been so much more interesting if he wasn't mean to Ruby. Like, if when he turned around on Unit, he was like, Ruby, they've been lying to you. I'm sorry I had to trick you like this, but we need to take them down. And then towards the end, when Ruby obviously sticks by Unit, maybe then he becomes more mean. I just would find that so much more interesting. But he went from Disney Prince, which he's well practiced at, and then he just immediately turned into this sort of cartoon villain that he just didn't work for me. Unit didn't work.
I also didn't think it came out of nowhere. I kind of feel like you get the little senses. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I got little senses that there was something off about him sort of throughout building up. There were little moments.
I wonder why you knew there was something off about him.
Wow.
Could have been a multitude of reasons, really.
What I meant is there's little like lines where I sort of think the way he's talking about things, it comes across as subtly more manipulative underneath. When he's saying like, "Oh, sorry, I'm not as cool as the Doctor." I read that as a little bit. I read that. I know that I know you're supposed to read that as him being insecure. I read that more as like him trying to play to like her in a sense.
I liked that at the start because I didn't know anything about the twist, so I thought they were going down this route of Ruby's got this relationship, and then it just turns out he might like her, but he's more using her to feel like the Doctor more than using her because he like loves her. But using is the wrong word.
I think two things can be true. I think that like he can be like using her to like try and dismantle a unit, but
I
also
think
the idea of filling the doctorish role temporarily.
I think it worked really well though, because it wasn't until like the second the whole think tank reveal happens, I feel like my first thought, I remember, was like, oh well, yeah, it was too good to be true. Like the bit where they drop the papers and all of that. Like he's been. Do you know what I mean?
So typical nice guy. Like if he had turned around and gone, I don't know how to speak to women, I wouldn't have been surprised.
Like I thought, like on the date as well, there were so many funny little like cute lines where he was like, "And I could buy you dinner, or we could both pay for dinner," or like, and it's like, do you know what? Like it felt so like natural, nice, and funny.
But I think from a girl's perspective, Conrad was like majority of, not say majority of men, but a lot of like, at least, you know what I mean?
Specific type of man.
Yeah, like you just tell.
The hotties are all like Conrad's. What can we say?
Because like I understand her telling her family, and you know they're all a bit flirty and fun, and she's like,
that was so cute, by the way, all of the family
the
stuff.
Instagram, the Instagram was good.
The excitement of it, but once again, it's like too good to be true, and like because she has a lot of trust issues with the world, I feel like she kind of had glass eyes a bit. Is that the right saying? But she had that kind of like dreamy rose tinted glasses for him, because the rest of the world around her is so
ruby tinted glasses.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of the twist, and I agree that everything leading up to it, like for me, the episode only sort of fell apart on the reveal, and it wasn't because of the twist itself, because I do think the idea is really interesting. I just think he snapped into a completely different character. Like there were virtually no seeds of who he was before.
They're so subtle, there is. But there's so many things as well. Like, you know, the whole meeting friends situation, I found that a bit weird and very rushed and quick. Maybe that's because of the editing. But then it's like Donna and Lance. Lance?
Yeah.
I instantly got that vibe from it, because the way he like picked out little things about her that weren't related to his plot. The whole like, oh, I had to deal with this much lip gloss. It's like when Lance had to go at Donna for X Factor.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I agree. I also thought it was noteworthy. Obviously, I know why that she meets his friends, because of obviously they're part of think tank, aren't they? But like I found it noteworthy that like none of her friends went along. It was very like, oh, come and meet my friends. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, I'm
not being funny. If you're in a long distance relationship and you're going to stay with them, yes, it is. She's going to like a remote little village
I don't know whether
in England.
live there. They don't live there though. I think Sparky, the mate, lives there.
I'm pretty sure that's where Conrad lives. Like that's she's going to his like hometown. That's what I saw it as. Like she says to her mum and her grandma, like, "Oh, I'm going to go to this like nice little English village."
Yeah, English
whatever.
village. That doesn't mean that he lives there. It could just be like
on the point of Lance, like Lance is a good example, because although they don't seed Lance is a good example because he is also like almost cartoonishly a dick. I mean, sorry. A penis. He's almost cartoonishly awful after the twist, but he's a bit of a nasty guy. He's a bit of a nasty guy even before the twist. He's quite rude to Donna. You see him rolling the eyes at her, and so some of his character, be it the part of his character that is absolutely tired of Donna's goings on, but is still present afterwards. I just saw no through line.
No, but this is a silly complaint. Like when, for example, like when you've got big plot twists, because the whole point is he's acting as someone else. When the Master, whichever time you want to pick, like in the Doctor Falls, when the Master reveals himself to have been Mr. Razor, you can't go.
He was pretending to not be the Master.
Yeah, it's like there was he didn't kill anybody. That wasn't in character. Well, he was playing a character.
But the Master's different because he's this loud, bombastic, like theatrical person. He enjoys playing the role.
Conrad, he went on the One Show.
What?
He went on the one show. He
I was-
liked
I was-
he asked to be
I
this
just
media
I just think that, like, considering he ended up being this more sort of like serious, straight-laced, I'm bringing down Unit because Unit's awful. I just feel like
I don't think he was particularly
it
straight-laced,
was
though. I feel
specifically
like-
how he went after Ruby. I just didn't think it
This
worked in my
feels
opinion.
like the
I
most
feel like-
pedantic debate I've ever had in my life. Like,
No, it's not pedantic. We just disagree.
No, but it is because it's so arbitrary. It's like
No, it's not. I don't think the twist worked because of the way he interacted
But I
with
think-
Ruby.
But this is
You
why I'm
do.
saying the debate is pointless because
gave up the
you've
twist.
made up your
Podcast is
mind.
pointless then. What are we here to talk about?
Viewers, I could be wrong, but please tell me in the live chat or the comment, do you care? Because I feel like this. Do you know what? We're just
It's
talking about
done.
nothing.
This is
Nothing
done.
at this point.
Anyway.
Rosanna, your theory. The moment's here. Give us. This better be the best theory I've ever heard. Otherwise, I'll be very disappointed.
Okay, so if you've seen Robot, the first Tom Baker episode in 1970, whatever, it's a bop.
Nice.
Yeah. It's a bop. It's a really good episode. But the villain wasn't the actual robot, it was the group around it called the National Institute of Advanced Science Research. They were evil. They tried to infiltrate UNIT, right? Right, we're all ahead. Think Tank is part of that.
Oh,
I don't want to be like
It's
that. That's
theory,
not.
it's
That's not
more
a
just a
theory.
statement of fact.
That's the text. That's
That-
why they're
no.
called think tank. It's the anti-unit group.
Yeah, okay, but it's more interesting than that.
Was that? I thought that was the thing.
wait,
I
so
was
they're
gonna-
the same group? Is
Yeah,
this
so,
confirmed?
the writer came out and said Conrad has done his research and looked at the anti-unit group from the classic series called
Oh,
Think
so they were
Tank.
inspired.
So he's adopted that name to get back at UNIT because there's the history there.
And
Right, I see.
also, the main leader was Hilda Winters. This woman, this evil woman, evil.
What a cow.
She was mean, Sarah Jane. We don't like that.
Yeah.
She had this whole thing. Sarah Jane before like 2005 had some, what are they called? Big Finish, but they weren't Big Finish, but they're like, she had separate stories, and Hilda tried to kill Sarah Jane in those things, right?
Right.
I'm with you.
So there's this theory that she went to prison and then this whole think tank got created because they thought she wrongfully went to prison she rightfully went to prison, but because she was anti-unit, they thought that, if that makes sense. And now Conrad is in prison, but he's gotten out because of Mrs. Flood, so
So, Hilda is Mrs. Flood.
potentially. I thought that was
Oh,
really theory, guys. You
That's
can all
quite
shut
cool.
up.
that's quite cool.
This literally feels.
Forget the return of Sutek. Bring back Hilda. You know.
I can't wait for that anagram. That anagram's going to be great.
I thought, when
Dolly.
I read that, I thought,
Dolly.
Dolly AI is Hilda.
Oh my god!
but I just
It's
thought it
the
was
anagram.
so, like, it was obviously, like, it's really obvious that he, like, did his research and stuff, but it's so nice that it ties to the classic theory, because there were so many groups that were against UNIT, and I view this whole UNIT thing as not anti-government, but because UNIT itself is not the government, it's its own thing, like Torchwood.
Outside the government, beyond the
Beyond
police.
the police.
The 21st century is when
the other
everything
thing
changes.
On Robot, quickly, I wanted to say as well, the thing I noticed and people have pointed out, when he reveals the think tank logo on his shirt,
yeah.
the little music cue of boom, 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 which is the exact same music cue they have when the robot is first being revealed in Robot, which I think is just a really fun little...
I always
well done,
wonder
Barry. You
how
did
many
well.
of these little musical things are intentional, because I feel
That
like
definitely was. That
no,
definitely has to-
when you hear it, it's like definitely. But like last year with Ruby singing like the Tricksters motif, that amounted to nothing. They play the Masters theme just before the Sutek reveal.
That was weird. That was weird.
I can never tell whether Murray Gold's just like, oh,
we never-
I'll do this.
I don't think we mentioned it on the Lux one, but didn't he play like one of the old Doctor themes for the companions?
Amy's theme.
Like,
No,
was
Amy's theme was when Belinda said, That was a really nice touch, actually, because it's when Belinda goes,
Oh, right.
I want to go home, and the doctor says, oh, you'll be waiting. He played the girl who waited. That was a
that's
lovely
nice.
That is
moment.
nice.
Oh,
I was
no, I
referring
figured it
to
out.
with the
Yeah,
fans
the
when they
fans
play.
bit.
Is it Madman with a
I thought
box
that
or
was
something?
I thought that
No,
was
that
fine
was silly.
because
They're going to be
No,
in it's not even that important, but they're going to be in Nigeria next week, and it's going to start going dum 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 da da dum 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 dum
What's
dum
that?
dum. Clara's theme. Come on, guys.
What's
Why
that got to do with
Da-da-dum.
Nigeria?
Well, that's the point. The music has nothing to do with the actual story.
Oh.
See, it worked 5 minutes ago, but it
How
doesn't
do you
anymore.
do it?
I have been so underwhelmed. You know what? The only time I've been more underwhelmed than the Sutek reveal is Rosanna's theory and that.
I was so proud of myself.
All I could hear in my head when Rosanna gave that theory was, you know, in Gavin and Stacey when they're just like,
The
is
nerds are
that
supposed to be cleverer
it?
than this.
Is that it? You go,
I found
guys, I think that Think Tank might be like Think Tank. Stand
Don't.
back.
No, because I love how Unit is so tight. I always bring up Sarah Jane because I love her, but Unit is so
Really?
tight, and I just found that theory so nice.
No,
was
I
like,
actually have a theory though, to be fair. I reckon that the unit that we saw in this episode are actually tied into the unit from the classic series. I reckon this is quite subtle.
Guys.
Do you reckon that's because of Kate and what she
I
keeps
think
talking
Kate's the
about her dad?
Brigadier's
Maybe her dad's the Brigadier.
you guys are so mean. I really found that cool.
guys, do you reckon that TARDIS is a reference to the TARDIS that we see in the rest of the show?
Not funny anymore, sorry. The joke's
Well,
It's
you know what?
Anyway, where were we?
Wait, speaking of the next time, I thought it was. I'm so excited
Speaking
for
of
the
the
next
next
episode to be. Shut up! To be set in Nigeria. Finally, I love it when Doctor Who does another culture that's not London, England.
Yeah.
Ties in so well with Shooty and the fact that he's calling everyone auntie, and I just love that. I find it really interesting, and I don't know, it's nice to have.
I think it's also nice that there's new writers. It's going to be completely new voices because I think the episodes The Well was a new writer. Lucky Day Pete McTighe's not really a new writer, but a newer. He's only written 2 episodes.
Yeah, he's
before.
different from Russell T Davies
I know-
and Stephen Moffat.
I know he did. He did Kablam, didn't he? But what else did he do? What else did he do?
Perhaps-
We don't talk about the other one.
Hang on, do we talk about Kablam? Kablam's not that great.
I
It's
don't mind
Rosanna's
Kablam.
favourite Jodie episode.
Yeah,
Rory
no, my
Stock was in
second
the
one
comments. Did
because
not like that.
Vio
I agree with Rory.
that's a good one.
What's a
Which,
good one?
Villa Diodati.
I like that one.
Yeah, that's the best Jodie one.
I really like the New Year's time loop one, but everyone always shits on that.
Oh, Echo of the Daleks.
Echo.
That wasn't a stutter. That wasn't a stutter. I was doing a joke.
I think you're getting
Even
confused
Echo
with
of the
hit
Daleks.
fan film series Echo's Destiny. You're
Oh.
looking for Eve of
I
the
knew
Daleks.
that was coming.
Yeah, get it in there, get the
Echo of
foot.
the Daleks is literally the mini episode where the Echo Doctor gets taken to
Oh my
Danforth.
Anyway,
god!
go back to
I've-
Lucky Day,
I've-
the new
I've-
episode. Let's talk about that.
I talk to you too often.
You know which is a really good writer but really underrated? Toby Whithouse. I really like him
What
doing
did he write?
Yeah.
that. I remember liking the
He's got a lovely name. Is
Joe,
he?
what did he write?
He
Is
did
he?
School
I'm trying to
Reunion,
remember. I
right?
don't
Toby
think they're that
Whithouse.
memorable.
I liked his episode.
Is
No,
he-
did he not do the sitting pit? I swear he did.
No. I
No,
don't think
Toby
so.
Whithouse was later.
He's
pretty
like
sure.
late Moffat
Vampires
era.
of Venice, The God Complex, A Town Called Mercy, Under the Lake.
Yeah.
He's
That's
credited
good-
for
that's
School
good.
Reunion as well. Lie of the Land.
That's why Rosanna knows his name.
He also plays a German soldier in
Yeah,
Twice Upon a
it's
Time.
him and
Yes,
Mark
yeah.
Gatiss. That's because they're the 2 writers in the Crater in
Yeah.
the Twice Upon a Time.
They joke that that's what the writers' room looked like. I think in the behind the scenes, or not the confidential, but they had a YouTube behind the scenes, and they were saying that's what the board meetings look.
He did.
I do have
Apparently,
something else.
apparently, he also wrote Bridget Jones' Diary.
Oh, what's it?
Yeah, how about it? Sorry.
Should we go back to the episode that
I have another thing to say on Unlucky Day. Well, I've got plenty of things to say, but I've got one more that I was going to say earlier. But then Artie started going on a rant, so I'll
As he
try.
does.
So I don't remember. Rosanna said something that made me think of it, but I did really like how, because obviously we've had the whole therapy thing with Shooty's doctor. Obviously, it was really nice to see Ruby having that paranoia kind of aspect of it, but also the fact that she realised, like, it was looking up for her when this man came into her life. But it was really nice to see like a representation of, you can't get over something or someone just by replacing them with someone else. I thought that was a really nice touch to it, and that, like, I really felt that when I was watching it. And it's just that, you know, switching people out, and it was that, oh, she hasn't talked about the doctor in weeks. Like, it was really lovely. I'd imagine it was probably intentional, but I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the characterizations, I think, are the best part of this episode. But
Yeah.
really, like,
I really like.
I actually enjoyed Ruby, like, and I felt like I had a real sense of her.
I think it adds more weight to season 1 as well, because the biggest complaint, all of us have talked about it so many times, like, Ruby and the Doctor never argue, they never fight or whatever. But in this episode, you really get the sense that, like, that's almost intentional, because she was so young. Like, even I noticed, like, the Doctor says to her, like, she's like, oh, will this antidote taste bad? He's like, oh, it'll be like candy floss. And she just instantly trusts everything that comes out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And I thought it's quite a nice touch, because it shows her immaturity compared to Belinda, who's clearly older and is like, shut up, Doctor, I'm not trusting you. Ruby just trusts everything. She doesn't question anything. And then when she gets left back on Earth, she suddenly has a moment to process and goes, yeah, that I shouldn't be okay with all of this.
And she immediately gets into a relationship with a manipulative man because she is so vulnerable, and because she doesn't spot those warning flags that Faris could so easily see through the screen. But Ruby wasn't quite clever, so she didn't really pick up on those.
I'm just saying I got sus vibes, you know. But then
we all know why you got sus vibes. You can't sit here and be some sort of, I could tell. I always had a bad feeling about him. You knew.
Conrad just put the cards on the table and then it went.
Not to, like, obviously this is a very deep conversation, but her outfits were 20 times better in this episode than
I'm going to the hairdresser tomorrow. I'm showing them a photo of Ruby Sanders' hair in this episode. It was amazing.
I love the fact that she grew up, because she was like dressing like, you know, a 10-year-old version of Clara in season 1, in my opinion. So for this episode, like, I don't know, I just really enjoyed her wardrobe, especially her kind of business casual unit taser thing. I was like, damn.
It did look very 14th Doctor, I thought.
Pinstripe. They say that in one of the behind the scenes things, don't they? Like, Millie Gibson has said, I thought they would dress to be like David Tennant.
Very Met Gala, very on theme with the Met Gala last night. No one will get that. No one in the watching this will get that.
I didn't get what you're even saying right now.
Oh,
Elise, go.
The hotties are confused.
That's awful. I thought you were talking about me and Elise.
No, I was talking about me and us.
I was like,
no,
not again, sorry.
No, I was talking about me and Artie. That's the whole running game.
Elise, what were you trying to say before Faris said something inappropriate?
Oh my god, I'm leaving. I'm retiring.
This is the problem, because I have all of these like tiny little comments to say for me, and then I say them and everyone's like, why the fuck did you say that then? That's a nothing statement, but never mind. Conrad mentioned that Ruby plays the piano.
I thought of this podcast in that moment. I was like, finally the piano's coming into use.
I loved it. Also, just to go right back to an original Elise theory on the Confused Adipose channel.
Is this going to be the think tank level theory?
Evil Kate. No, Evil Kate.
Evil Kate.
Yes, it's that.
Or whatever it was.
God, that was ages ago.
That would have been 2023. Or possibly even 2022.
No, we were in London. We were filming in London.
But for those of you who don't know, because I'm presuming not all of you will remember or care or have watched, we theorised in the and it was before the 60th, wasn't it? It was the trailer for the 60th. Elise was telling us that 100% we're going to see an evil Kate Stewart in the new era, and maybe she wasn't wrong, or maybe I think more realistically, Russell watched that video and went, "That's a good idea."
Yeah.
And now
He keeps stealing your ideas. It is Russell. I'm calling you out.
Exactly. Yeah, he came up with Space Babies on his own, though. That was.
Yeah, no one takes credit for that one. No.
If you took a shot every time in a podcast we mentioned Space Babies,
Yeah,
you'd get
That and Empire of Death, I feel like.
they'd probably be more watchable.
I don't even remember what I was going to say anymore.
It's hard, isn't it? Yeah.
It really is.
I believe in you, Thurries. Come on.
No, I mean, one thing I want to say.
Have you?
Artie, I think we should start our own podcast. We're not wanted.
The hotties. The hotties.
We're not welcome. No,
Hotties on who? That's our title.
See, we've got it. We picked the name within the
I
first
love
episode. No.
Joe's invited that was my payback. Joe's invited us all onto a podcast. Me and Rosanna have done a spin-off podcast. Archie and Darius have done another spin-off podcast.
I'll just find new people. You're all replaceable, guys. We'll just...
Who would you place me with? Ellie Hallett?
Yeah, just a little thing. I love the little TV reports. As like that felt proper.
Trinity Well.
Proper
That was cool.
RTV one.
That
Trinity
was cool.
Well. Also, the lift shot. I don't know if anyone else picked up on
Yeah,
that.
I picked up on that. I
The
brought
new
it.
lift shot. It was like,
But
oh
it
my god.
was updated. It was
Yeah, they
updated.
updated it.
What? Sorry?
Well, this is the thing. Sometimes you just sit back and realise, what even are we as Doctor Who fans? The lift shot! Every episode of RTD and the Moffat era uses the same shot of a lift going up every time
And the
they're in a
same
lift.
shot of, if they do a full Earth shot.
Yeah,
it was
Yes, yeah,
But for
yeah, yeah.
once, we had a new lift shot in
Yeah, but it's
full.
funny because it was shot from the same angle.
Yeah,
it was shot from like, the
but
exact
it was
same...
a different lift.
I'm sorry, how many angles are there in a lift to shoot?
Quite a few.
Yeah, but it could have been the right
You'd be
angle.
surprised. You'd be surprised.
I don't know what you're talking
There's quite
about.
a few angles
Right.
in lift.
Artie, you should know.
When people go in a lift, yeah, it goes up.
No, the
Oh, the
cable.
shot of like from the lift shaft.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the
Yes.
cable.
Oh, I know the shot you're talking about. I didn't
It's a
notice
new
it in this
one.
episode.
No, it's a new shot. That's the point. It's the
Oh,
first
right,
new
okay.
lift shot. It's exciting.
Well, that's Disney money for you. I tell you what, they know how to spend a budget.
Yeah, that's what they blew the budget on. It was
Russell's treating himself. He gets the extra cash. He's like, I'm finding myself a new lift. It's going to be marvellous.
Absolutely not.
Why did he go from like Brooklyn, New York to Welsh?
I can find myself a new lift.
I'm gonna find myself a new lift.
While you're talking about lifts,
I'm
I'm
gonna
going to go to the toilet really quickly.
How did that make you think of lift?
What a smooth transition.
Lifts and toilet.
Why were you there hosting a school trip?
I don't know.
Side note, by the way.
Shut up! See?
Once
the problem.
again,
None of you.
you're all in the loop. There's a quick toilet break there, and we have tried, I think this is our fourth attempt to smoothly transition into the question of why UNIT employ children and why that hasn't been called out by Conrad. I want to know.
Yeah, why are there school trips for like a top secret government organisation? Like,
I've got a theory.
they're like, oh yeah, here's the Dalek gun, like.
I've got a theory.
Go on, Elise. What's
I've
the
got a
theory?
Rosanna type theory for this.
Oh.
They never
No,
actually they never actually got rid of the 456. It's at the top of UNIT and they're feeding all the children to it.
Is that why there's always children employed at UNIT after they're
Yeah,
done?
that's why Lenny Rush's character never came back.
Yeah, I know.
They used him in Empire of Death, then straight upstairs.
I was going to say, I said on Twitter, like, I think it works like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So whichever kid kills the most aliens gets to take over as Brigadier. Like, it's like,
As
oh, you
kids,
get the...
Stuart, thank you very much.
No, but I'm saying, but
Brigadier's a rank.
Brigadier's a title.
Is it? I thought that was his name.
Oh,
Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart is his name.
Alistair, his name is Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart.
I thought his name was Brigadier. I'm not even
Just
sure.
point out that Rosanna is often heralded in the comments as being like this pioneer. She holds all the classic Who knowledge, and everyone's always so impressed with her. She thought the Brigadier was a Christian name.
Can I just ask, Rosanna, when like Brigadier Bambera crops up, did you think that the people that had the Brigadier's job just happened to coincidentally all have the same first name, irrespective of gender
It was a really
or
popular
age?
name.
Did you think it was like James Bond, where it's like they
Yeah,
all
no,
take on the same name?
I only know that as a brigadier, as him as the brigadier. I didn't know there was other people called brigadier.
They literally called him Alistair at multiple points in
Yeah, but I don't like that name for different reasons.
You know what?
Shout
Fair
out to
enough.
Alistair.
Can we talk about the scene with the Doctor at the end?
Yes.
Because I want to hear your thoughts on it before I complain.
Well, I thought that was Shooty's like best acting because I just had this. I've never been kind of threatened by Shooty in a way that like Christopher Eccleston threatens me or Peter Capaldi. Do you know what I mean?
Threatens you personally.
Yeah.
You should die.
Why don't you just die?
You know,
I know what you mean though. He had what the kids nowadays are calling aura. It was a proper moment of like, oh, it's the Doctor. Do you know what? You could see it.
Like,
you could see the oncoming storm. It was like, oh.
And also, you know what I loved is the fact that he made his little ego dream come true and then smashed it into a pulp.
Yeah, I was going to say that whole scene gave me very similar vibes to like, you know, the 10th Doctor banishing the family of blood. It was just like that. Oh, damn, this guy's got, like, if you get on the wrong side of him, like, it's going to be bad. Like, it's going to be bad news for you. Like, and also, it's like that I loved that he could just click his fingers and the TARDIS was gone. I thought that was really sick as a transition shot, just the fine.
It was cool.
But I also loved that, like, Conrad didn't flinch through that whole scene. He was like, you know, he was just sort of squared up.
It's the arrogance is like, I'm not going to name names, but there's just, I don't know, like, there are people I have met who it's the same thing. They're just
some of who you might be
there.
best friends with.
They know they're being a bit of an arsehole. And they like it. They're like, yeah, I'm just gonna say, and like it felt so true. And I think as well, it is absolutely lovely that Shooty's one of his defining Doctor moments. He gets to be the one that says to these right wing commentators, that says to all these people, shut up. He gets to have his moment where he's talking to the naming no names people on the internet and all the right wing grifters.
I'm coming for you, Crispy Pro.
Crispy Pro.
No, he's lovely. He's lovely.
Shout out to Crispy. We love Crispy. But yeah, it's nice that he got his moment. Now, before we get to Artie, Elise, what were your thoughts on that scene?
I think there was another layer to it that was Russell T Davies telling us off, in the sense that he's going, guys, I try really hard, and then there's this relentless noise that tells me all the time I'm doing everything wrong.
It's this podcast.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought he commanded the room. I was thinking on my rewatch earlier, he's not in it barely at all. It's a Doctor Light episode. I thought he was very funny at the start. I liked the posh voice he did. I thought that was very doctory. And I really liked him at the end. And I know that Artie's going to say something I don't agree with.
That was so serious. Sorry, that was so. Like, after Artie is going to say something I don't agree.
Go on, Artie.
His Doctor was so. This season though.
Yeah.
He's
also
so
the first
good.
scene as well. The first scene where he meets Conrad and he's like, 50p, we are winning.
Yeah.
That was such like a doctory thing for him to do. Like, and I mean, just like you were saying, I think just the whole thing of tying it into the online reaction to like his casting and the way that whole all worked out. But also I think Conrad is also, it's interesting, it's following the theme of like fans being represented in the show. Because I noticed that as a little thread as well. You know, at the end when his hand gets bitten off, he's like, well, at least your special effects are improving. It felt very much like a commentary on like those sort of fans.
The optics of having, I don't know where it's
Think of
just
the
little
optics.
got to think of the optics. With Shooty being a shorter man than Conrad and looking up at him, but just still commanding the presence. I don't know why, there's something about it that I really liked that. Like, he didn't have to bear down on him. He looked up at him and he told him exactly what for. I just really liked that. And obviously that's not a detail that they deliberately added. It's just the way that the actors were.
It does feel like it adds to it, though. I completely agree. Like, the tension, it does. Like, there is a level of, like, you know, Conrad was probably happy with that. In his head, he's like, I'm taller than you, Doc.
Yeah.
So get stuffed, you know, because that's exactly how that type of guy would act.
I keep saying, he felt so true to people that I have met.
Yeah.
Like, it really, really did ring true. Like, I feel like everyone in the comments, have you met a Conrad? Because I feel like, do you know what, like the character and what he represented really did. It was like, I know that sort of person.
I think I've got to watch it again because
unleash the Mrs. Floodgate of you.
Welcome back to Doctor Who.
Well, I don't think Conrad was like real enough. But aside from that, on the Doctor thing, can I just say I agree with you all about Shooty's performance. I think he was great in all three scenes. I'd like the step up this series from Shooty is magic, and I'm here for it. But the scene itself, I just didn't find the Doctor threatening at all. I really wanted that family of blood moment, or that, you know, you just killed someone I love. That's not a safe place to stand. I wanted to be almost like scared of what the Doctor might do. But in that scene, I don't know. I just felt he came across on the back foot in that conversation. Conrad was so like unaffected by the entire thing. There wasn't even a moment of reaction where he's like, holy shit. Like, and I'm not saying he should be like, oh,
that's the point, though. That's the point of his character.
No, but this is what I was saying. Why it rings so true,
had the upper hand at any point.
This is the thing. It's so obviously Russell talks about it in one of the behind the scenes things, but when you go back to the 60s, the Daleks are based on Nazis because that's the biggest sort of global threat. The way that's all tied in. There are so many people, it's why I keep saying it rings so true as a character, so many people like Conrad, where they can have the facts explained to them. I've literally been in a conversation with someone, Rosanna, you will know exactly what I'm talking about, where I have gone, here is the factual evidence of X topic, and they go, it's not true.
There's no need to call me out like that, Joe. This is a podcast, not an argument.
But do you see what I mean? Like, there are people in the real world that do that, and I think that is the biggest sort of threat to the biggest sort of threat to modern society. This is the new version of the Daleks. It's a 2025 villain. People with misinformation. The whole "I reject your reality," even if he knows it's fake, he doesn't care. He just and I think it's so much more threatening for him to just stand there like, I don't care. Like, it's building him up. This isn't the last we've seen of Conrad. I'd agree the Doctor needed a more triumphant moment if this was the end, but we know he's coming back.
I'll agree with that. It's, you know, it's like, as much as I'll criticise Conrad, I'm more than happy to, like, I'm looking forward to seeing him again because I want more from him because his character just didn't make sense to me, and I've loved this series and I want to like this episode more. But I'm not saying he should have like given in or conceded or been weak in that scene. I just, for whatever reason, I thought Shooty's speech was very, it was very sort of end of kablam. It was like, and here's the moral. It didn't feel threatening. It felt like a lecture. It wasn't, I can't stress it wasn't Shooty's performance because I do think he's been brilliant this series.
I get what you mean on that it felt like a lecture because initially when it happened, I was a bit nervous. I was like, oh, please don't just explain what we should take away from this episode. But I thought, from a character perspective, and obviously the performances were so good it didn't matter, but from a character perspective, well, one, none of the dialogue was too on the nose for me, I didn't think. I thought it was all quite natural. And from a character perspective, The Doctor absolutely, if Ruby, his best mate, has been hurt, would call them back for a telling off. Look at what, like in the 11th hour with the Atraxi,
Yeah,
he
I
summons
thought
them
that.
back and he's like, "Oi, that was naughty." Like, I thought that's so doctory to do. It didn't feel tacked on, and I get the concern. And initially, I was like, "Oh, please don't go down that direction." But I thought the performance, the writing, and the way it worked, and giving Shooty that moment to say to this like annoying right-wing noise, "Shut up." I think it worked so nicely.
And the
Also,
fact is,
oh, you go on. I'll let you go. I'm
No,
very
because-
enough.
He's a generous man.
you go, but can I cue a point for afterwards, please?
Yes.
In
you
the
can.
Amazon
I was
queue.
going to say, I loved the way they tied in how he found out about Belinda. This is what I mean. The setup and payoff this series, the setup and payoff this series, when compared to last year, so far at least, has been so much more natural and better, because it's like, first episode, you get, I've got to be careful about timelines, but I know your name. Episode 4, we see him learn the name. I was like, it's not a groundbreaking thing, but when you compare it to, she was pointing at a sign that we never see on screen, it feels so much more
It's so
tight and so much.
It was
in such
so
a good
clever.
way.
Like I want to know when in the writing process did they figure that out? Because that's so clever. Because it could be so easy to make Belinda feel like, he's met her before, it's cheap, but it properly ties in a nice way.
Yeah.
But what I noticed, which I thought was interesting, is like they've went back to 2007. The first clip that we saw Belinda was in 2007. What is this show's deal with 2007?
What?
When
We
is
live
it
in its
also?
glory days.
I thought I had a theory! Oh no, I thought I was going to tie in Martha, because that's 2007, but you guys all...
I don't want to be that guy, but technically that's 2008.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is, because of the timeline of events in Doctor Who's a year ahead in universe.
Because you'll actually
broadcast.
find in Aliens of London, Rose goes ahead a year. Thus...
You guys all suck. You're all nerds.
I think you'll
Elise,
find
what was your point?
I think you'll find we're the hotties, actually.
We're the nerds. Thank you very much, Rosanna. We're the nerds.
Yeah.
Elise, go on. We'll stop bullying Rosanna.
I was going to say
We're
that
not.
just back to Shooty's little speech thing. The moment as well when he's literally like, "This is how you're going to die. You have made no impact on anyone." That was wild, and I loved it. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. And I did have another point that I wanted to say, and I've completely forgotten when it was, and I'm really sad about that.
That point slayed, babes.
But the point about Shooty literally being like, "You're gonna rot and your blood is gonna boil with poison or something," like that's what I was like, oh, okay, like, yeah, maybe I wasn't as scared of the Doctor as he's been in like Waters of Mars or something, but then maybe that's because I was very much on his side in this. But yeah, I would like to see a Doctor that I don't necessarily always agree with, but in this episode I think maybe I've remembered what I was going to say. Maybe Artie, you weren't necessarily that scared of him because you were like, yeah, as you should, tell him where to go.
Yeah, but even when, sorry, Joe.
No, you say this first, then I'll add on.
Well, it wasn't. It's not necessarily about like agreeing with him, because when he says to the Vashta Narada in Silence of the Library, "You just killed my friend. That's not a safe place to stand." I'm not like rooting for the Vashta Narada in any way. I'm like, big up, you're the Doctor. But I'm also just like, what the is this guy gonna do? Like, I don't know. Shooty, he gave like his. To me, it just what the Doctor's done before, like with the Atraxi, is like interweave sort of a moral speech with something really quite threatening, and I just didn't get the threat aspect, so it felt to me out of place, because it's like I don't think it seems strange that the Doctor would find out this has happened to Ruby and just be like, I think I need to have a word with this man. I'm going to give him. But I can understand him finding out what's happening to Ruby and going, well, screw this guy. I'm going to go and threaten him and make sure he never does this crap again. I'm calling the Atraxi back. I'm sending them away so they never come back to Earth. I didn't get that vibe. It felt more like, I'll just pop to prison, have a word with him. I'll sort him right out.
But I think two things on that. One, I think it's completely in character. The dynamic the Doctor and Ruby have, this is the equivalent of like, let's say like Rosanna and Elise as besties. Rosanna has just found out that a man has wronged Elise. So she rings the man and goes,
Naughty!
"You're an arsehole, I hate you, you're horrible." Do you know
No,
what I
but
mean?
she
Like, I
doesn't
thought-
just do that. Rosanna rings the man, goes, "You're an arsehole, I hate you, you're horrible. And if you ever do anything like that again, I'll fucking kick you in the arse." I mean, like,
But
it's...
I think this is the other thing I was going to say. I don't know whether the show's going to take this direction, but I think they kind of will, and I really hope they do. I thought what the Doctor said, yes, from an emotional perspective, I get it, and I'd be in the same situation. Conrad is horrible, but it was so harsh, so rude, and so aggressive. I think it's almost going to be to the Doctor's detriment, because all that's done is fuel up Conrad, because it's what I always talk about with the two voices and like just putting stuff on the fire. The flames are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. All the Doctor's done there, as understandable as his reaction is make Conrad determined to get his reality. And obviously the finale's the reality war. Conrad is going to be fueled by the Doctor saying, "You will die in a prison cell," and Conrad is going to go, "I will not die in a prison cell." And that's almost in a way the Doctor's fault for like igniting that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it's the Doctor's fault, but do you see where I'm going? I think it's...
I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. That will be really...
Yeah, it's not going to be as simple as just, that's it. I think the Doctor will have a moment of like, I shouldn't have said that. Like, I should have we should just ignore Conrad. We should leave those voices. Yeah, well, this is that thing of like, because tying it into the whole right-wing rhetoric thing, if you see these comments from people online, challenging them, but firing back with insults, does that help? Yeah. Or does it
That's
just
actually interesting. The idea of like reality war and like tying that into sort of, fake facts and the sort of truth narrative. If he does like if it's more subtle than it was in this episode, get rid of the lectures, but it just that will be a really
always has
interesting.
I
don't mean get rid of the lectures and that. I just mean don't make it feel like a lecture.
Rid of the lectures. I don't mean get rid of the
Don't
lectures.
make it feel like a lecture to the audience. It has to feel like a lecture to the character. And I think part of why I didn't like that final scene is because
did you feel called out, Artie? Is this a self-report here?
I do feel called out. Russell keeps coming for my people. I don't know. It felt very end of Kablam, Jodie era. Let's have a...
I don't agree. I don't agree. I'm afraid.
This guy is... Also, Mrs. Flood.
Yeah, I was also going to say, though, just quickly before we move on to Mrs. Flood, it's interesting that you brought up Waters of Mars. I don't know who brought up Waters of Mars earlier, but the Doctor's whole thing in Waters of Mars is... I can control time. I can do what I want. I can change it.
The laws of time are mine.
Yeah, I can change it to my. I can change it to my own desire and to my own reality. And obviously, the Doctor has evolved past that. But Conrad very much feels like he's going to want to do the same thing, if that makes any sense. But I wonder if there's a bit of like a symmetry there of like the Doctor has all this power and he can influence things in like ways he wants.
Conrad is
basically the type of person who would use that power to do what he wants, kind of like an inverse to the Doctor in a sense. I wondered if that was...
I see where you're coming from, but I think the Doctor is going to get an ego check come the finale, because it's been set up like Robot Revolution, all of this. He's so like... as I keep saying, as understandable an emotive reaction it is the best solution in these scenarios to shout abuse back at the right-wing mob, or will that then escalate it further? And I think they're going to...
someone who stays apolitical, you've been like very right-wing.
You can't really discuss this episode without... You can't
told off for being political. In what way does this channel stay... So many comments are going, could you stop bringing up the Tory party, please? Could you stop making jokes about Boris Johnson? Could you stop making jokes about Donald Trump?
It's just, forgetting the drinking game about space babies. Take a drink in this podcast every time Joe says right-wing.
Right-wing grifters.
It's kind of impossible. It's kind of impossible to discuss an episode like this without bringing up the very obvious, like, political subtext of it. Though that's the thing, you kind of have to acknowledge I mentioned the line. I think it's been mentioned before, but just the line about this one's on benefits. I was like, because I saw people say that like he was too sympathetic as well. That's something I saw because because I saw people saying that like because in the beginning we see his mum like
was that one of the YouTubers Joe was talking about earlier?
No.
Oh no, I see what you're saying. People were saying Conrad was
too sympathetic, and I'm like, he called out Shirley and said, "Oh, she's on benefits." Like, but I think it's interesting though because there's an interesting commentary in when a kid is neglected. What does that do to their self-esteem later on in like life and stuff? And that very much felt like because like, what's the first thing she says to him? She says, "Don't tell lies." What does he make his career out of? Telling lies to the public. He tells lies to the public, and ironically, telling lies to the public is what made him rich. So it's almost like he learned the exact opposite lesson. And maybe it comes back to what you were saying, Joe, about like, is violence or being outspoken towards these people the right approach, or does it just teach them the opposite lesson? By his mum treating him in that way, be like slapping him and go, "Don't tell lies," he goes, "Well, I'm going to tell all the lies and I'm going to make all the money because of it." Do you know what I mean? Like,
I've just had another thought on that. Is this going to tie into the Doctor's stuff by the end? Because the way he treated Alan, if you remember Incel Alan, when he dies, he goes, yes, Queen, and like walks off or whatever. And obviously, Alan was a control freak who we should not be empathizing with. But as Tharies is saying, I think it's an interesting point. If Conrad was shown care and love rather than neglect, would it help these people? Do you know what I mean? Rather than if someone's gone down one of these right-wing rabbit holes, because it happens to so many like teenage boys on the internet. Like they really like get sucked into these. Rather than setting up a defense and going, "We're never speaking to you. You're evil." Is it? Do you know what I mean? Showing them compassion? I don't know.
Joe's been watching Adolescence.
Whose job is it to show the compassion? Because if you're suffering on the opposite end, why do you want to teach someone who's been horrible to you?
Yeah,
well, that's the thing, isn't it?
That's what I mean. It's a debate. It's a.
How nice is it?
Are we going to have the debate on the podcast?
It's something that I was going to say earlier, and then the conversation moved on. But Joe, what you said about it being one of the main problems of society today, and RT, you earlier said you didn't like it because, well, one of the main reasons you didn't like the episode was because that people that aren't going to agree with the message aren't going to understand the message and learn from the message, and people that already agree with the message, it's not clever enough for that. What I really liked about the episode was the fact that it wasn't necessarily giving a message and going, "Don't listen to these people that lie." It was going, "This is a very real problem that UNIT are facing. UNIT are trying to deal with all of these aliens. I love a human monster. I love it when that real villain of an episode is actually a human. But they literally had to, they're having to spend resources. They're having to, safeguard their stuff. They're having to do all of this stuff to just prevent against this like useless thing. Like this could all be prevented if people were just honest. And they have to. We have to spend an entire episode of Doctor Who rather than UNIT being out fighting aliens and sorting things out. They have to worry about these things that could be so easily avoided if it wasn't for stupid people like Conrad. And that's what I really liked about it, because that is, as Joe was saying, it's a real problem in the society. So therefore, it is a real problem that UNIT are going to have to face.
As a man once said, human race, greatest monsters of them all.
What did everyone...
Yeah, I don't know why... sorry.
What did everyone think of the shriek?
Well, I was just going to bring up, by the way, I don't know why it just came to me now, but you're talking about the fake monsters. Their costumes for the shrieks were spot on. Conrad may not believe in aliens at that point, but he has got a wonderful imagination because he nailed it, honestly.
It's
I love the Unleashed talking about that, about the Unleashed saying that they gave them like a mask and said, right, remember that, make it from memory and make it slightly shit.
Oh, did that? I hadn't seen the Unleashed
they let
yet.
them look at the mask for, what was it, like 5 minutes, and then they went, "Go and make it." So
that's very
No.
the art
impressive.
department are
Oh,
just
that's-
really good.
Yeah, that's really impressive. And all
Conrad's
they
got
had
some
was 5
budget.
minutes.
He has some mates at uni that just
He's got
I know because they say as well. don't they?
Conrad's got friends in Bad Wolf Studios making the aliens for him.
He does say as well, doesn't he? Like, don't they say that like he's a tax dodger that has like a huge Patreon or whatever the equivalent is, like a huge subscription service?
yeah, because he
Yeah.
pays for his mum.
800,000.
Yeah.
Here, though,
Yeah.
is a big plot hole, I think. Okay. If that's true, if we're to believe Conrad has this massive online following of it, why did Ruby go on his podcast in the first place? How is she full? Did she not listen to him? Is he not a public figure? Do Unit not already know about him? Like,
I was wondering about Unit's background checking and how they just had to they ran one simple search to find out that someone had like extreme links with Conrad. I was like, you probably should have done this earlier.
If-
It
Yeah,
should be a regular
if
policy
he like
enforcement.
faked the whole thing and then became the right wing grifter, but like, how do you get that many followers like that quick? Do you know what I mean? Like, if his podcast was Lucky Day.
You should start making a right-wing podcast to see.
Maybe he made
It doesn't take everyone 11 years to get to 30,000 subscribers, Jay. Some people.
Maybe he made leak videos.
That video would have probably went massively viral, and then he would have got like what 4 million views off something, and then
but is the implication that he was? Because also, we said at the start, like, oh, it was really clever because that Unit guy was listening to the podcast on his way to work. But that Unit guy is listening to a nice podcast. Is because it's not...
Maybe every ninth word of the ninth podcast, if you put them together, it's Unit are evil.
I read it more as he was making sure the plan was going as expected, but also the reason I thought she went on the podcast and the reason why initially she accepts his invitation to the cafe is
she fancies him.
Partially that, but I also think there might be an element of I'm going to give you this cure because you had the gunk all over you.
But how does she know that?
Because I don't know, Unit told her probably.
But how
I
did Unit
also
know
think
that?
she fancied him. He found the thing of like, oh, he's got a picture of his top off. You know.
Can we talk about how hard she was flirting in that cafe as well? When she's like, and then the lights will go down and the street. And I was like, Ruby, babe, we're in public here. Take a step
I
back.
did like how that scene was directed, though.
Oh,
that scene was
yeah,
directed
I enjoyed.
Very good.
I was just going to bang on about him being Hans from Frozen again, though, because in theory, that direction is from his perspective, because he's... You got a problem? No, in theory, that direction is from his perspective because he's a massive wuss. So we're seeing like him getting scared as she describes it. But if he's a villain who's lying the whole time, he's not scared. It feels like Hans under the boat smiling. Why are you smiling, Hans? Don't lie to the viewer and don't be mean to Anna.
But he is secretly scared. But isn't the point that he's secretly scared deep down though? Because they do that bit at the end where she like unleashes the monster on him, and she's like, "Let's see what you really believe." And you sort of see him do that little like side eye glance of like, "Oh, I'm not sure." Like, I
think that this is one thing though, because it ends up being debated. His motivations were a little bit confusing at points. I thought
all the way through,
but not all the way through. Just there's a couple of little things of like, does he act like we're implied that he does know aliens are real and he's only doing it for the grift.
Well, that's what I thought it was.
But at the same time, why didn't he take the antidote? Was that a comment on people that didn't take the vaccine and misinformation?
Or did he take the antidote?
He didn't, because the shrieks after him at the end.
Oh yeah.
So was that like an anti-vaxxer?
It might have just been. Yeah, partly that, partly just
because also
they're not going to tell me what to do.
They say on the Masked Singer bit, they're like, "Oh, everybody's taking off their mask," and little things like that. Is that another subtle thing that they're like threading in?
Maybe the masks are the government, and they're plotting a Slovene episode in the season.
The Slovene need to come back. Oh.
Yeah,
they need
Why would you get a right wing grifter on the one show? I did think that. I was sort of like, it's sort of like if Andrew Tate got
I bet
interviewed on the one show.
I'm going to Google if Andrew Tate's been on the one show because I feel
I
like he might
don't-
have been.
I somehow-
I don't think they
because
wouldn't.
he's anti-government, so the world is like,
Yeah, I guess.
left wing
They
It's
should
anti-government.
have
also just for
had
clicks and views, isn't it?
Piers
It's to
Morgan
make-
Uncensored. That's where
Yes!
he'd be.
Yeah, but I don't
Yeah.
think Doctor Who could afford that.
Well, they do mention Albion News.
Piers Morgan Uncensored is literally a YouTube show. It's hardly like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they had the woman from what's it called? Send from my iPhone, so it's clearly an exclusive show.
I don't know.
I like the
Irony.
TikTok ones as well. All of the TikTok videos have the exact same cadence of right-wing TikTokers that go, and this guy's just been locked up for no reason or whatever.
Yeah.
It was exactly like, I feel like I've seen so many TikToks where they're like, guys, did you know if you're an ethnic minority in Britain, you get paid £50,000 for killing a child? Like I've the exact same cadence as all of these people online.
With
Can I
Trinity
just say,
Wells.
Andrew
with
Tate
Trinity-
hasn't been on the one show, but Tommy Robinson was on Good Morning Britain, so it's
I mean,
believable.
Yeah. Actually, Philip and Holly sat there. Well, Philip's dodgy for a multitude of reasons, but they sat there.
Let's not get into Phil.
With so many dodgy people on that sofa. I will never forget. Just once again, sorry that apparently I'm apolitical, Artie, but their thing during that election where they shunned Jeremy Corbyn, gave him like 2 minutes of screen time, were mocking him, and then they were taking selfies with Boris Johnson the very next day. Evil
was
people.
I think that's completely impartial. Also, side note on that, they mention Albion TV, which is obviously their GB news standard, but it's also the same thing from
Roger
73
Williams.
yards. So that implies that he still exists in this timeline. So I just thought that was cool. Maybe it'd be like, maybe he might come back at some point. Kind of.
Mrs. Flood.
He'd be 4 years old. 73 yards is set like 50 years in the future.
No,
Roger
it's not.
Williams is alive, but he's about
you're
4.
right. Yeah, no, yeah. To be fair, maybe he could still happen though. Albion still
Get a
exists.
4-year-old right-wing grifter on the
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Right. Henceforth, I passed the curfew of being allowed to talk in my house, so I have to be quiet. So I'm going to sum up, and then on, thumbs up, thumbs down. I feel like something wrong. I feel like I watched this episode wrong because you all agree on almost everything. So I am going to rewatch, and next week I'm going to give an update and tell you if I think it's any better. But I didn't hate this episode. I've had to complain because you guys all like it too much. But it just didn't work for me. I'm really excited for next week though. And Shooty, as I've said, like him and Belinda are so good. That opening scene was so lovely. Them just coming out the TARDIS on New Year's Day. So I'm now going to be quiet. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
Artie, you're not supposed to be speaking. It's 10:01 now.
Yeah, it's 10:01. Just to explain Artie's absence, he's been requested by roommates to be quiet. So he's going to be delivering hand signals from now on.
Or at least that's
landlord.
that's the official story that they want you to believe.
I'm not accepting that reality personally.
Yeah, I'm not accepting that reality either.
Shout out to Artie's landlord if you're watching.
Yeah, Trinity Wells' lines of like, Trinity Wells' lines of, an innocent podcaster has been taken into custody just for speaking the truth. It's like it's so accurate to how they would say it.
I wish she got her episode because us as fans know who she is, but I feel like the average Doctor Who viewer will go, news lady. Oh, news.
Yeah, because they were going to have her in the end of time, weren't they? Like in person.
They
She
were
was going
also
to be
going to have a full Sarah Jane episode.
mad.
Are they?
Yeah.
I do find it funny that they've gone like Alex Jones with her. Not Alex Jones, one show Alex Jones. Alex Jones. I mean, I guess it makes sense
Wars,
because
that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Wars.
They do a similar thing though, don't they? With J. Jonah Jameson in the Marvel films, they made him kind of like an Alex Jones thing. Yeah, I just thought that was an interesting point. But yeah,
it was
a good episode.
I think that wraps up our thoughts on Lucky Day, but don't go anywhere, guys, because first we're going to read your comments, and then he's back, and then we're going to decide. Hang on, we'll rate the episode out of 10 before reading all the comments. Artie, give us your rating out of 10 in without noise.
On your fingers, please.
A 5.
Five.
Okay,
Four?
Rosanna, you're up.
Wait, Artie.
Wait, is that a
five-
4.5?
Artie, five is a new Who, like for new Who standards, or 5 altogether, as in old Who standards.
We tried this last week. He can't comprehend. Okay, Rosanna, take away. This is great. We can say anything about Artie.
I think his points were shit this episode.
You know what? He's actually making a coherent point for the first time this episode. By just
Artie, I support you. Oh, is someone coming to his room? Is he about to be like murdered off camera? Is it David? It's David. I think it's David. I can see David. David! Why is he wearing a Scouts thing?
Nancy David.
Okay, right, Rosanna, what's your score out of 10?
Oh, I've got the hiccup. Someone else go.
solid 7.
7? Yeah, fair reason.
Joe, what about you? No, I want you to go first.
I'm gonna every single episode this series, I'm giving an 8. They're all solid 8s. The Well, I see. This is controversial. Artie, I don't know if you can hear us. He'd be getting very angry right now. I preferred Lucky Day to The Well.
Yeah, I knew you would because you said last week that this. Can we just keep David? Do we need Artie? You know, like.
Can we do this every week?
Why is his head
just film all episodes post 10 p.m. so that Artie can.
His head's gonna fall off. It looks like, in Wild Blue Yonder when he's stretching
My
backwards.
head's gonna fall off.
Yeah.
Anyway,
now we know what happened to the 14th Doctor.
Rosanna, rating out of 10.
I think I'm gonna 7 because I didn't enjoy it as much as The Well, and it got spoilt for me a little bit. But I really like Ruby in this episode, and I say that. And Belinda is just my fave.
Belinda's such a queen.
What did I give last week? Did I give last week an 8? I feel like possibly.
Or do you remember?
I think, I think this one's probably about an 8 as well. I think that's like. I think, they're very different stories. It's hard with Doctor Who because they're such different, like, episodes to compare. I still think Lux is my personal favourite this year, probably. I still think it's the most unique of the era. But no, I thought this one was very good. Yeah, very good.
Okay, and Rosanna, yours out of 10. What you thinking of the episode?
Just said.
Did you? I didn't listen.
Can I redo mine? Because I think I'm going to move to an 8 as well. Because actually thinking about it, I don't think I'm. Okay, maybe a 7.5.
No, it's only 8 if that's what you feel.
I think an 8 is very fair. It's a really good episode.
Because I know that Lux is at the top for me and the Robot Revolution is the bottom. And I think that the heights of this episode were higher than the heights of The Well, but overall I enjoyed The Well more. But then actually I've been saying nothing, I've been singing its praises this podcast episode. So I don't know, maybe they're on par.
Artie's face is just.
Artie, can you give us your reaction through mime as to our ratings? What does that? How does this make you feel?
It's sort of like watching a modern Charlie Chaplin, isn't it? It's like it really is.
Oh, but we will now move on to
the end of the podcast.
Comments. No viewers' comments. I've got a nice selection this week. There's not loads to go through.
Can I read out my favourite one?
Elise, shall we just carry on while you fill up your water? Yeah. Rosanna, go on. Spit your butt. We've got to read through them.
This is from Abby Jameson. I want to be on the podcast while you're on holiday.
True.
I wish I was on holiday, not at B&Q.
We should get Abby as a special guest on an episode at one point.
Does she still watch?
No, she gave up after 10 minutes of the Robot Revolution.
That's fair enough.
I mean, the extra benefit wasn't really there.
What do you mean by that,
I just think that, when you care for someone, you might watch Doctor Who as a means of bonding with them.
Anyways, this is
Abby watched Doctor Who because she enjoyed it.
From Stock Rory. Completely serious question here. Do any of you actually care about the Mrs. Flood mystery?
I do.
I do.
I started to. I didn't before, but I am now. Now, mainly because of this governor thing.
We've seen it before.
I want to see how she threads it.
We've seen it with the eye patch lady. I'm done.
I think, though, if I was a casual audience member, I wouldn't be that invested, but because it's sort of like my life at the moment, like, I have so much right. If the Mrs. Flood reveal is underwhelming, I'm going to be so sad. Like, because the struggle is, I can't think of many characters she can turn around and go, I am such and such, and not think, okay. Like, do you know what I mean? Because it's been built up.
I want her to
so
be her own
much.
thing. Why does she have to be the Rani? Why does she have to be the master?
Well, because if it's not a new, if she's just a new character, right? Why? Do you know what? She's going to have a name drop of I am da da da. Will people care? Like, because we've been basically told. Russell has basically sort of gone like, look, you're not going to believe who she is. You're not going to believe who she is. You're not going to. And if she's just a new character, why didn't she just be a new character the whole time? Do you know what I mean? Like, the mystery's basically saying you will never guess which legacy character this is. But is there a single satisfying legacy character she could be?
I think Artie has a point, but he can't say.
Artie, mime us your point, and we'll play like charades.
What? Time?
We need one of those.
How many times? Time Lord? Time Lord.
Time Lord.
One time, two Time Lords.
How many Time Lords can... No.
How many Time Lords does it take to fix a light bulb? Redo.
The other. Rassilon, Omega, and the other. That's your... There's two of them currently, and you think
you're not allowed to say words in charades after you're cheating.
Yeah, I don't.
Harvey Wallbanger.
How is Harvey Wallbanger? One word.
Artie, come on. We've lost the plot. Time Lords. We've got Time Lords.
Time Lords, the other.
No, don't type it. That's cheating.
My point.
ASMR rebrand. Let's go.
My point was that if it was someone like the other, then it's a new character, but it has the weight of a return. That was all I was trying to say.
Yeah, but I suppose it depends on how the reveal's done, but I feel like because of the Sutek reveal last year, I'm just waiting for an anagram. I'm waiting for a big...
It doesn't rain, it floods.
Oh, he's going to be that.
It's going to be that.
But I don't think I want it to be. I don't, because she's going to go, oh, Doctor, I'm Mrs. Flood, and what causes a flood?
No, because she always avoids... She
Rain.
always avoids the Doctor, but she's chatted to the companions. She's, in fact, been next door neighbours to both the companions. So it's like, what's she trying to do?
I'm going to lay down.
The only water that flows in the river is the flood. I'm telling you now.
I'm going to lay down.
River Song?
She is going to stand on the stage at the Interstellar Song Contest and reveal that a rain starts a flood and a rain is anagram of Rani. He's going to do it. And all the lights in the Interstellar Song Contest are going to flash. Then there's going to be rain. Then there's going to be a musical number. Oh,
she's gonna
that would literally I'd watch that.
She's gonna wear like a water themed costume. Do you know how like they've all got like different themes for their Eurovision costumes? She's gonna have like a dress that's meant to look like a river, like a waterfall.
I really hope they don't do an anagram, because they've done the anagram last year, and that's why I think she will be a returning character, because I don't think they'd hype her up this much again if she was going to be a new character, because they did that last season. And I do have just enough trust in Russell that he's not going to do an anagram 2 seasons in a row. But then again, there's all of these things that are coming back again. Like we had our episode 4 Ruby centric thing. We've had that same shot out of the thingy bob. We've had the, so maybe it will repeat. And
I did.
God, if it does.
It's in a theory video. I have no idea whether it will have been released before or after this. But actually, Tharies, that theory video we were both making?
Yes.
I changed mine because while I was coming to my conclusion, I think it would slap and it would hold dramatic weight for everyone watching. They'd understand if Mrs. Flood this might be the modern Dan is Donna. Mrs. Flood is the Doctor. If she came from the By generation and is the Valyard, we immediately understand evil Doctor. The By generation has been brought up in Lux a bit randomly. Like, there's loads of little things. I think if she has a name drop of, like, I'm you, ha ha ha, I mean, that would at least hold the dramatic weight for new audiences as well, who would understand immediately who she is. And it would almost, do you know what I mean? Like, if she's got a TARDIS of her own or something and it all ties in. Also, like, how does she know what was going on with the Doctor and Conrad in the TARDIS? Because she remembers it. She's always one step ahead. She's always watching because she's seen it before. That sort of thing.
My favourite thing, I'd rather, if they do that kind of route, I'd rather they go down the Watcher route, though, than the Valyard route. Like, I feel like, I don't know, there's not enough.
The only thing with the Watcher is, how do you explain that, like a white plasticine man became an adopted? Like, it's hard to really.
How do you explain that a black triangle in the sky can just sort of like people
no, but that's different because that's no, but like,
how do you regeneration isn't real, Tharies? It's a fictional show.
The problem is though, the Watcher's not. How is that an impactful reveal? The Watcher is a really cool concept, but all they do is just stand and watch. So, like, I've got my genius plan, Doctor. I actually have
another theory that I might elaborate on. I was watching I was listening to the Series 3 commentary. And you know the bit, like, obviously, like, you know, the Hand of the Rani and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, it reminded me of In End of Time. You know that woman who appears to Wilf? And that's obviously coded to be the Doctor's mum, right? Yeah. Like, that's what Russell says.
That woman.
No,
we know who you're talking about.
The woman. Yeah, the woman who's like, the end of days or whatever. And obviously, I know a lot of people have like headcanoned it to be Tecteun. But what if Mrs. Flood is like? What if Mrs. Flood is the Doctor's biological mum?
I've got an added point to this. I've got another point. So you know how they say that they're meant to be like, the Weeping Angels are meant to be those Time Lords, and they were standing like the Weeping Angels. This is something I've just made up on the spot, and we've been filming for 2.5 hours, so let me know. Okay, so Weeping, the Doctor's been crying a lot through his run. And if you cry a lot of tears,
I thought this was going to be a theory.
I was just going to make my point was just.
It's completely under the rug. We're not even going to address that.
I'm not even going to dignify that with a response. No, what was I going to say?
Mark my words.
I lost what I was going to say. Like, I think with Ruby Sunday's whole thing being finding her biological mum, it almost feels like the perfect culmination to that whole deal if the Doctor finally comes into contact with his biological. Because Russell wanted to do it the first time. He wanted to do it in RTD1.
He didn't want to do it. He was.
He employed it though. Yeah, sure.
No, but he was very adamant in RTD1. When you read the writer's tale, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was like.
This writer's tale.
It's so good though. But he was, apart from some of the chapters that are questionable. I
don't know what you mean.
He's like, there's a fine line on revealing too much about the Doctor's origins. I think if she is anything, it could be from his original universe, pre-Timeless Child. But also, okay, go on. Tharies, give us your last point, then we're getting straight back to the comments. We've got to. I care.
I don't. I just don't care. The words Tecteun actually make me crawl out my skin and want to die.
I think
I'd rather work bank holiday.
and she doesn't like to work a bank holiday.
I don't.
She keeps it to herself. But Tectune is such a good character. I love Tectune.
I don't. The name. What is that name? Just
That
don't
one friend
care.
who's too
I didn't care about this timeless child then. I don't care now. I find it pointless.
You're very
I
harsh,
don't like
Simon.
Tectune.
Very, very harsh.
I mean, that's why I said it was the biological one, because
But
Tectune.
right, Rosanna, keep us going through the comments. We'll do this quick fire.
Okay.
It's not very quick fire, Rosanna.
Shut up!
Rapid.
5 rounds rapid.
Coraroon 2000. Is this the biggest question out there? Is the trickster going to be used? How and why in the RTD2 era?
Fingers crossed.
Well, according
Rosanna,
to
you're our local trickster expert, Sarah Jane Adventures and such. What do you think?
They need to stop edging us with this trickster. They need to stop, because they mentioned the trickster and the Pantheon and all that crap. But who originated it? The trickster. Who is literally the MVP? The trickster is like the, and the fact that they've never been used in the main show is a travesty. I do not understand how, because they're too
I want
powerful.
the trickster back. Go on.
Yeah.
Right, quick fire. Next question. Let's go. Go. Rapid.
Does
getting
it?
arty disease.
Shut up! Does the name of the governess mean anything to the plot, or is it just a throwaway line? Dun dun dun. I don't know.
People have been going mad
Well, who
about this, haven't
knows?
they? People have going absolutely mad about the governess thing.
Sorries, you've got a bit red there. Some people have made 10-minute long videos about, when Harold Saxon died, there was a governor there, so the master's coming back.
Someone took the ring.
The leader of the cult of Saxon was called the governor. All right.
Someone took the ring. I really want it because it gave me end of time flashbacks.
I'm not being funny. You've made theory videos based on less.
I'm just saying,
No,
though,
I'm not-
if that golden tooth that was taken, right, could be Mrs. Flood's hand. If Mrs. Flood is the Valyard, the Doctor turns evil, the first thing he's going to do is go back and get his evil best mate.
Or if it's the Rani, she's taking the tooth to revive the Johnson master, and it's all a part of the cult of Saxon. That's what it is, guys.
Scotland!
Are you ready for the next?
Hang on. The golden tooth will have a reflection, and the reflection can be used to stop the weeping angels, because then it's always licking himself.
Or maybe Elise picked up the golden tooth with her red nails.
It was you.
This is from Roku Robbins. After seeing edits and tweets, I now need a spin-off of Ryan Sinclair and Ruby Sunday. No one asked. So stupid. Go away.
No, Twitter's properly shipping Ruby and Ryan.
Twitter is now
Why?
an X scares me.
Because someone made a fantastic edit. It's so Ryan's video was like, I'm 19, and she edited them into the date, so it's just Ruby and Ryan sat across the thing, and instead of Conrad, it's funny. But rapid. Next question.
Okay.
Whoa.
Cooley. We really love Kate and the Colin Justice Brigadier. There we go.
I agree.
Oh,
Justice for the book.
Solid.
Oh, the Colonel. Kate and the Colonel. I got it.
That's not his first name.
No.
He is really fit though. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Okay.
He was lovely. I met him at a convention. He was really nice.
I'm just loving my new theory about the weeping angels. I think it's the Doctor's mum who is also a weeping angel, and she's going to cry so many tears. It creates the floods. There's a Water of Mars time somewhere. I haven't quite worked out how that one's going to fit in, but that's my theory.
That's a unique one.
Blocker Flux. Lucky Day should have been the first time we saw Mrs. Flood in this series. Nah.
No.
I like the part where she's like,
It was good in that.
That's my favourite Mrs. Flood
My
line.
favourite Mrs.
No, it's like in that dressing gown. She's like,
Dom.
what you doing?
She was really good in the Robot Revolution, and I really liked her in Lux as well. I think the others so, but the
I
first two
liked
was really
this
good.
one.
I like this. Yeah, I like this one, especially compared to the last one. Last one was stupid.
Compared to last week, yeah. But I'm
Artie's
still
put something in the group chat, but I can't read it because my phone's the camera. So sorry if my camera's shaking. It's Artie's fault.
I was you're doing it, mate, with thumbs up. That's
Oh, nice.
from Rose Blush ___. I didn't expect that reveal from Conrad. Eric from The Little Mermaid is no more. He is a Doctor Who villain now.
Yeah.
Honestly, his performance was really good because I really fancy that actor. I can't see him anymore.
Do you not?
Episode changed it.
Poor Conrad.
Once you see a guy like that, it just brings back bad flashbacks.
Who could you be referring to there, Rosanna? Next comment.
I think the lesson is don't go out with someone with a podcast. That's the lesson.
We're all technically owners of a podcast.
And I stand by my claim.
I stutter?
And I stand by my claim.
From Rose Blush __. It felt so 2005 Doctor Who. Also, with using the Henrik's building and having an adventure rooted on Earth. Yeah, I really like the inclusion of Henrik's, and the whole mannequin thing was very much a tie to Rose, and I really enjoyed that.
I really liked it. I wouldn't say it felt 2005 though. I think it felt 2025, and I liked that.
Audience advocate for Crohn's. Mrs. Flood is Crohn's. Corona.
Is what?
I meant to say Crohn.
What was it for?
I meant to say Chrono.
Chronos, which I'm pretty sure is a classic villain. Not
Crohn's disease.
I think that comment's from Mason. Please, we've been on his podcast.
Oh, no.
I'm really sorry.
Yeah, no, Rosanna's just a fool.
I finished a shift all day, guys.
Never let Rosanna read.
Joe's like really kindly asked all of his followers to drop some like, interesting theories and stuff, and we're just here like 3 hours in, sleep deprived, don't care anymore, going no. That question.
We appreciate all of your comments, guys, or at least I do.
Especially the ones that support the Saxon Master theories.
Right.
Well, if you did enjoy this episode of the podcast, be sure to give it a like. Subscribe to the Confused Adipose YouTube channel if you want. You don't have to.
Wrapping up today's podcast, we're gonna enter 3 absolute nerds and 2 absolute hotties into the final contest for names for this podcast. That's our entry this week. We hope you did enjoy. This has been the most tiring, long, tedious podcast I think we've ever made.
They get longer every week. Can I just say, we're gonna be here like 5 hours for the finale.
We've been here for 3 hours. This is currently 3 hours, but we hope you did enjoy. Please. Please.
Russell's like, you know that bit in he's like, please come back. Please come back.
We've got absolutely marvellous reveals next week. Please come back.
Absolutely marvellous podcast episodes coming up.
Archie reminds me of, you know that bit in Rose Tyler where he's like...
In Rose Tyler.
In Rose Tyler the movie.
No, where she's like...
yeah, where she's on the screen.
She's like, Doctor!
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Ta-ra. Now that's what I call a giggle.
Yes! Yes! Get it!
Don't forget to click below and subscribe to the official Confused Adipose YouTube channel.
I will destroy you. She's not seen a single episode.
No, I've watched your episodes.
Keep these sonic screwdrivers.
What else am I saying about the film? Don't watch this one.